Hello, this is Lynn Gardner with Lynn on the Line. I'll be putting myself on the line in more ways than one as I bring forth a short message for you that I hope will help you in the journey of life and as I attempt to answer some difficult questions. If you've ever tuned into me at all, then you know that I believe the principles for life, they're all the same, whether it's your personal life, your spiritual life, or your business life. So I attempt to thread it all together, apply a little bit of wisdom, and hopefully someplace it'll fit for you. We hear it every day. People expressing their dreams, their goals, their big why out there, even a bucket list that's filled with things they want to do before they die. The sad reality is that most people talk that talk and they die without ever doing those things they said they wanted to do. They don't accomplish what they set out to accomplish, and most things never get crossed off that bucket list. It's very sad, but it's true. We can name plenty of excuses for why that is, but it really only boils down to a few. So the message for you today is entitled 3 Reasons You Don't. The first reason you don't is you don't think you're worth it. I know that some of you get ruffled up just when I say that because you think you believe you're worth it, but are your actions reflecting a belief system that you believe you're worth it? Some of you have been beaten up big time in life. Perhaps you never recovered from that economic downturn that we all experienced a few years ago. Perhaps you've lost your job in the process. You lost a home in the process. You may have even lost a relationship in the process. And just maybe, deep within yourself, you don't think it's worth it. You're worth it. Maybe it's easier not to have those things again because somehow you blame yourself for losing them. Maybe you had a dream killer in your life. Maybe you have a dream killer there right now. A dream killer that sends you a message that you interpreted as you not being worth it. Things like, stop dreaming and get a job. Why don't you just give up? Do you know how few people become a rock star? Or not many people make it to the major leagues. Any one of those things could be buried in the bellows of your mind, and you don't even realize that you don't think you're worth it. But I assure you, you are worth it. God thinks you're worth it. He knew you before the foundations of the earth. He planted you in your mother's womb. He knows you by name. He paved the way to pay a debt you couldn't pay for yourself so that you could have eternal life. So if he thinks you're worth it, who do you think you are to not think you're worth it too? Don't confuse being worthy with being entitled, by the way. There's a big difference. God doesn't promise every believer an 8-figure bank account. He has a plan for you. He has a plan for me, and no 2 plans are the same. We're unique in his eyes, and we have a unique purpose for him. But he wants all good things for his people. But you know what? Unless you believe you're worth it, you can't ever achieve what he has for you. So number 1 reason is you don't think you're worth it. Number 2 reason is you don't think it's worth it. It doesn't matter if it's love, a spiritual journey, or a business empire. If you don't think it's worth it, the effort it takes to accomplish it, you're never going to get there. There's every excuse known to mankind for why people don't do what they say they want to do. But it all comes down to whether or not they think it's worth it or not. When it's worth it, we find the time. When it's worth it, we find the money. When it's worth it, we find a way. On a business standpoint, from a business, I've never seen anything like it. In my day, in the dinosaur days, for instance, it was common for women to stay at home, and it was not uncommon for the men to work 2 jobs. Today, people whine about one and their job, and they claim they have no time to build a business. They don't have any time to do anything. But back in my day, again, that stay-at-home mom, the man thought it was worth it. That family was worth it. The dynamics of the family was worth it, and he did whatever it took. Anything meaningful in life takes effort. I don't know where this notion comes from that you're going to put forth a little effort, make a lot of money. It doesn't work that way. You can't put a little bit of effort into your faith and have a big faith, right? Anything meaningful in life takes effort, and lots of it. If you don't think it's worth your time and energy, then it isn't. But don't whine about why you aren't where you want to be, why you haven't found love, why you don't get out there and share the gospel, why you aren't building a business empire. If you don't think it's worth it, you're going to die without accomplishing those things. On a personal level, I have friends that aren't married. I've been on my own a while, and I've got single women friends that would very much like to have a companion at this point in life. I mean, they'll just talk about it, how they want to find someone, they want to find love. And the good news and bad news is the predominant way we do that in our world today is online, like it or not. We don't live in that little community that we used to live in where one friend would introduce another. It's online. But you know what they say when I suggest it? Oh, forget forget about it. It's too much work. No, it takes up too much time. They don't even want to put in the time to accomplish the one thing that they whine about on a regular basis. On a business level, you know, people talk about, I don't have time, I have a busy life, I can't take a class, I won't spend the money. They don't even invest in themselves or their business in any way, from time, effort, or money, to ever build a business. On a spiritual level, you know, there's every excuse for not sharing, because it takes boldness, you know, to share your faith, and people refuse to find that boldness. So the number 2 reason is you don't think it's worth it. And, you know, the number 3 reason is you don't think they're worth it. Whether you're hoping for love, sharing the gospel, or sharing your business, it comes down to whether you think the other person is worth it. You see, if you have a burning desire to help them, if you really believe they're worth it, you know what? You won't let fear prevail. You won't stop and say, I don't know what to say or how to say it, or they might laugh at me. If you let it stop you from sharing whatever it is you have to share, then you're saying they're simply not worth it. Your feelings or your fears or whatever it is more important to you than helping another human being. Now, I know that's a bold statement, but it's true. So as usual, I like to use a word picture to drive home a message. I'm going to give you an analogy today. Just imagine that you see me, you're walking along the way, along a lake, and you see me out there, and I'm drowning. There's no doubt about I'm drowning. You know, I would like to think you don't worry about it. You don't stop to think. You don't say, well, I can't get my clothes wet, or, you know, you don't stop to say, well, I'm busy, I've got an appointment, I don't have time to help. You don't stop to say, I don't have the right tools to help. You don't worry about what how I might critique you after you save me. Hopefully, you will see my need above and beyond everything else, and that you will do whatever you think you can do to help me, because you think I'm worth saving. So what about life? You know, how do you look at that? Are you content to make excuses because you don't want to get your clothes wet attempting to save someone from drowning? It's scary to think about how many people never hear the gospel. They never hear about how they can improve their health. They never hear about a better financial way. Why? Because in your eyes, they're not worth it. They're not worth overcoming your fear. They're not worth overcoming your hang-ups and whatever you have. Whatever's in the way of you helping another human being, you're putting that before their needs. Now, some of you might jump in that water. You know, you might set out to save me, right? Setting fear aside, and you'll save what you have to share. But you know what? A lot of you will do that with the hopes of selling me a new boat when it's all over. You know, is that your heart? Or do you believe that every single human being is worth it? Listen, guys, the world is filled with people not like us, okay? Thank God. You know, it's filled with toxic people. It's filled with broke people, poor people, you know, all kinds of people. And the question is, do you think they're worth it? Or do you just pick and choose who you want to talk to and who you want to help? I would like to think, again, if I'm out on that lake drowning, you don't question what is her background, what is her education, does she have any money, what's in it for me? I hope you don't think those things, right? Do you think they're worth it? Or do you think your reasons for not sharing are much more important than they are? Only you can answer that. So the number 3 reason is you don't think they're worth it. So do you think they're worth it? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think, you know, you're worth it? If you want to check the pulse of your accomplishments, think about those 3 things. And I hope, as you remember people in your life every day, new people you encounter, every shape and size, every ethnic background, some likable and frankly some not so likable, that you'll see that word picture in your mind. Imagine them drowning, that you'll see them drowning, and you'll make the right choice for all the right reasons in life. You know, you have an arsenal of things that you can offer to help another human being. And it's not always about what's in it for you. In fact, it really should never be about what's in it for you. But if you don't think you're worth it, and you don't think it's worth it, you don't think they're worth it, you're going to die without ever fulfilling your purpose in life. So that's my message to you today, guys.